It is time for Who's Poppin' and Who's Dropping here on Sportsnet. Happy to be joined by Justin Bourne. Justin, the obvious place to start with a Poppin' player would be William Nylander, but we already spoke about him today. Let's go to another Leaf that's doing extremely well. Jack Campbell making his playoff debut. He does not look out of place at all, right?
No, I mean, what's really caught my eye about his game is just like how calm and composed it is. That used to be Freddie Anderson's kind of MO, but he's just catching everything. And I think that's why it looks so calm, is there's no flurry of rebounds around him. There's a stat so far in this series that the Leafs have had 37 chances created off the cycle and Montreal's only had 11. Well, that's just because everything's one and done right now. It's all kept to the outside. He controls everything. And, I fired it out there on Twitter. Like, this guy looks like he's going to be their starting goalie, not just for the rest of the season, but probably next year. And at $1.65 million, you kind of like that if you're the Maple Leafs.
That is music to Kyle Dubas's ears. That's a team that is always set to be heavy against the cap. And if you're paying less than $2 million for your starting goalie, it's probably a good thing. All right, on the other side, it's hard to look at anybody but Tyler Toffoli, the leading scorer, as the guy who's dropping. Not a glimpse of the net so far this series. Hasn't scored once after so many goals in the regular season. What's gone on with him?
Well, it's probably a matter of circumstances. It's tough to really pinpoint it. This is a guy who was scoring at a huge clip for this Canadiens team. So I think it's a combination of things. One, the Leafs are playing good defense. That helps. That's obviously an element to it. Montreal's offense has struggled, yada, yada. But the biggest thing to me is the Montreal Canadiens schedule has been heavy. And Tyler Toffoli is not a guy who's particularly fleet of foot. So if everyone is down a court and he's a little bit slower than usual and he already wasn't super fast, that has to lead to just like not creating the type of chances and the openings he needs, like to find that soft spot to get pucks off. So, it's one thing to not score goals, another thing to not get chances. I don't know, man. He just looks tired to me, and I don't know if that's a fair excuse, but to my eye, man, he just doesn't have that pop in his step.
I'll ask one more question, a little bonus one. If it's not Toffoli, who else has to pop off for the Habs if they're going to find any way back in this series?
Well, if we're sitting here in a week and the Canadiens have won the series, can you imagine it happening without Brendan Gallagher scoring a goal? He's the guy to me where he's their energy guy, their little ball of hate, and he scores goals. So Brendan Gallagher, whether he's been injured or whatever it is, he hasn't been quite himself. But if they're going to come back in this thing, they're going to need more from him too.
It's going to be a pretty tall task, especially against a guy who looks so good in net right now in Jack Campbell, who's popping off. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, thanks, Faizal.